Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome to the channel. I'm Lucas Fisher. This is my channel RamX3 where we talk about all things video games and music. So you're here, you want to learn about record labels. How do they work? How do they make money? How do you fit into the equation? And probably most importantly, do you even need one in 2020? We're going to cover all that and more in this video. So let's go. Right on. So what is a record label? A record label is a company, an entity that invests in your music, your art. In exchange, they invest literal money. They give you money in exchange for ownership of your music, the master of the music that you record, in hopes that you become so wildly popular that they turn a profit from record sales and a certain deal called a 360 deal, which we'll get down later. Also merch and touring, yada yada. So that's how they work. Labels give you money, go in advance, and they hope that you create something great and they make their money back. So really quick, we're just gonna go over the major labels. I got a list right here. There's Sony Music, there's Warner Brothers, and there's Universal, UMG. They're kind of like these big labels, and they own labels underneath them. So Sony owns Columbia, RCA, Epic. Warner owns Atlantic, Warner Bros, Elektra, Parlophone, and then Universal Music Group owns Interscope, Island, Def Jam, Capitol, blah blah blah. So big labels own many labels, and you see how it works, and they're all super rich. So how do labels work? Well, there's two ways. I'm looking at my notes over here. There's two ways for you to get in contact with a label. One is you reach out to them, you head up their A&R, their discovery team essentially, with your music. You're like, hey, I think my music would fit great on your label. Check it out. I'm gonna be real with you. The majority of the time, they don't really look. Some of them do. I've met people who say they look at every single submission they get, but most of the time they're like, yo, I'm busy as flip. Like, I don't have time for some random kid from Southern California who thinks he's the next hot shit. So like, I get it. The other way is they find you. You get, huge plays on Spotify or huge plays on SoundCloud. You have a song blow up, something along the lines, and you track the attention of the label. So let's say a label finds you. What they're probably going to end up doing is send an A&R, artist and repertoire person, your way, and they're basically going to try to warm you up to the label. They're going to make you want to sign with them. They're going to make you feel like you're part of this family. They're going to do great things for you, and this is just kind of your time to feel it out, kind of see, hey, is this label, is this A&R guy, is this whole thing, is it going to work out for me, is it a good investment? This is like the trial essentially. But let's say you go ahead and you sign. Essentially what's going to happen is the label is going to give you an advance. Indie labels will give you a much smaller advance than the bigger labels, but regardless, you'll get some chunk of money from the label to you, and the intention is you use that money to go make a record, right? You write it, you record it, all this stuff, and then the label ends up owning a portion of the master, which is the final recorded piece of music. And the master ownership is different from the songwriting ownership. It's this crazy thing, but essentially the label owns part of the master. And so when the master gets placed on Spotify, you sell a CD, you're played on the radio, literally anytime that is heard, the label and hopefully you earning royalties will make a little bit of cha-ching. Great. But here's the thing with label is that people don't know. This is the part that's under the rug, where people, who are starting to make music, they're like, I want to be on a label. It's going to be great. I'll be super rich and I'll be happy forever. It's like, no, that's not how it works. So we're going to keep the money and the numbers small, simple. A record label gives you $1,000 to make a record. That's a very small amount of money in the music world. But the record label gives you $1,000. Here you go make a record. So you're like, cool, I got a G. I'm gonna go make some bangers. What has to happen before you see any return on your investment in your music is your sales of your masters or your record or whatever need to, it's called recoup. You need to recoup that $1,000 back to the label before you even start to see royalties. And we'll get into royalties right after this. But think about it, you know, you sell a CD, it's $10, let's say, right? But you still have to pay distribution, publishing, all these other people. And so the label will not get close to $10. They may get $2, $3, $4, $5, depending on deals and all this stuff. And so you have to sell essentially X amount of records, where X is like the amount of money. Let's say the label gets $5, where 5 times X equals 1. Hey, post-production Lucas coming at you with the iPhone and the Dark Souls music in the background. I gotta correct myself here. I'm wrong. I forgot. The label, sure, they'll get $5, but that whole $5 does not count to your recoup. What only counts to your recoup is the amount of points you have. So I'm gonna say, let's say you have 18 points, 18% in your split. What essentially happens is the record makes $5, but only 18% of that $5, which is 90 cents, goes back to your recoup. Meaning you need to sell enough records at essentially 90 cents to recoup. That's a lot of records. That's a lot more than I even thought of in the original video. So I'm apologizing for this. So going forwards, when I say the record label makes $5, they're not. They are making $5, but the amount that only counts to your recoup is 18% of that $5, 90 cents. Back to the video. That is a ton of records, dude. And like I said, these are very small numbers. So I mean, you got to be churning out records left and right to recoup this imaginary 1,000. It's hard. But let's say you do recoup the 1,000, right? First of all, good for you. That's hard to do. What happens now is you can start earning royalties. Now you can start seeing money, paychecks, blah blah blah. But how the royalties work, it's kind of called points. You may have 18 points in the deal, and then the record label, if my math is correct, 100 minus 18 is gonna be 82. So they'll have 82 points. So it's like an 82-18 split, which is phenomenal. That's a very good deal for an artist. The artist receiving 18%. And so what you're gonna normally see is a little closer down to 13%. Low end being 11, higher end like 15, 16 if you're like super lucky. I mean, like the top of the tops are making about 18 to 20%, and there's good reason why it's like that, and they can make more money and they can do all these fancy things, but it's like you got to be pulling so much money to make it worth anyone else's investment other than you. I'm not gonna get into it, but anyways, after you recoup your money, you're gonna start seeing returns on your music. The label makes $5, you get 18% of that, whatever that is. So that's when you start seeing it. The big thing, the issue with the record labels no one talks about, is you got to recoup your advance before you see your money. That's just how it goes. The last thing I want to cover in this realm of labels is something called a 360 deal. So normally record labels will only, not normally, but the normal label signage, whatever, is just a regular deal, and they own your masters, the final recordings of whatever songs you wrote. But a 360 deal goes that next step, and essentially the record label now invests in your touring, in your merch, and it's called a 360 deal because it's everything that encompasses your artist. So your record label gives you 10 grand, and now you make merch, shirts, hats, shorts, whatever, and then you also use that money to go on tour, and then you also use that money to make a record. You got to recoup that 10 grand from those 3 different things, and now the record will always be taking money from you, from your merch, money from your touring. And let's be real, touring is more or less now dead with coronavirus, but that's how you would make money, is tours and merch. And so 360 deals, you got to be careful with them. Usually not advised, because what little resource or income you do have that's left after, you know, signing away your masters, and that also gets taken. So be cautious with them. You know, some people will be like, never do it, and some people will be like, just be smart. So that's kind of like the short and the brief of how record labels work. You know, they give you money, you recoup that money, then you start seeing returns. You start seeing your royalty checks in the mail. So if you do want to read more on this, there's a great book. I'm going to look it up right here. It's by Donald Passman. And he is a lawyer in the music industry. He has been a lawyer in the music industry for a very long time. The book is called All You Need to Know About the Music Business. It's on the 10th edition right now. And I mean, it covers literally everything in the music business, from what we just discussed to like streaming to writing to, I mean, there's so many things. I'm just like, I can't even think of any. It's crazy. So this book is great. Goes over everything from a legal, you know, monetary, artist, everything, little standpoint. I'm not gonna lie to you, the book is dry. It is extremely hard to read, and it is so boring. But if you're serious about this and you really want to learn, pick this book up, read it, keep it on your desk, you know, get through a couple pages a day. It'll make the brain bigger. You'll get the big brain. And then the last thing is, down in the description, I've included notes from my college experience and my midterm notes. They're kind of choppy. I think it was a group effort for my entire class, if I remember correctly. But it covers all this stuff. It covers, I mean, managers, publishing, Copa, everything. It's all on there. And if there's no description or whatnot, just give it a Google. So hopefully that can help you guys out too. And that's it. So, all right. So the moment everyone's been waiting for. Do you need a record label in 2020? Personally, I say no. You don't. You can take the band Periphery, for example. They were on a record deal with Sumerian Records, and they left. They got to a point where they could do everything from writing to mastering to releasing all on their own. And they were like, all right, we don't need the label. They created their own label, 3 Dot Records. I believe that's what it's called. And now they just do their own thing. They're not tied down by the label. They can work on their own schedule, do whatever they want. Good for them. So how does this apply to the more common, not famous person? It's simple. I mean, we have DistroKid, CD Baby. I mean, there's a bunch of aggregates out there that will, for a fee, take your final masters and put them on Spotify, or they'll put them on, you know, whatever streaming sites there are, Apple Music. I mean, they'll make a YouTube account for you. I mean, the whole 9 yards. They'll run the gamut for you. That's how you get your music on. How do you promote it? Social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You have friends, I'd hope so. Have them post it. You can go on Reddit. You can get on like just internet forums and promote it. You can always be like, hey, what do you think of this? You know, promote your music. Just talk to people about it. Another great way to promote your music, especially if you're trying to get discovered, is playlists. You can find playlists all over, you know, streaming sites. I mean, what you want to do is see if you can find the curator, you know, the person who makes the playlist. And if you can hit them up for free, do it. Sometimes you got to pay. I know on Fiverr, apparently you can like pay to have your songs on playlists for a certain amount of time. I've never checked it out, but it might be worth it. Just stuff like that. You got to just talk to people and meet people, and, you know, word of mouth is going to get your music out there. The big thing though is playlists, definitely. I know on DistroKid there's actually 3 different tiers on DistroKid. And from the middle tier up, you're able to upload your music and then set a release date. And essentially what that allows is your music to upload to Spotify but not go live until a later date. So what happens when the music is uploaded but not live, the Spotify people can listen to your music, and if they like it, if they deem your music worthy, they will upload it onto their playlists. And that's free real estate, dude. Like, get that money. So do you need a record label? Your call. Do I think you do? No. I mean, I've never been successful enough to warrant a record label being a positive experience, a something where I would turn even more profit. But I mean, I've been in a good chunk of bands where we've ended up getting a pretty good following, and I mean, never had a label. I think one of the bands just what happens, they did tapes through a record, and it was, pre-order, and it was all super easy and streamlined, but that's about it. There's never been anything other than that. So, good luck with your music adventure, and if you end up getting on a label, let me know. Good for you. If not, maybe that's the best decision. Only time will tell. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking it out. I mean, hey, if this was your vibe, if you learned something, give it a thumbs up, whoop-de-doo. If you are into like music, if you're into Pokemon, video games, that good stuff, maybe hit subscribe. If that's not your thing, that's cool too. Anyways, thanks for being here. I'm RamX3, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later, gang.